how do we evaluate MDR providers?
Yeah. So for me, I look at, everyone's going to look at price. Absolutely. Sure. Right. So, do they price by, generally it's by user or device or some combination of those. So that's going to be one of the factors. The second thing would be, like I said, going back to those, what are they detecting? What are they responding? How can they respond, et cetera? But the big piece that I use here is what kind of demonstrations can you do, right? Can you do an actual demo? Can they see the environment? Is there some kind of proof of concept, proof of value? And, can the MSP run it for a period of time and evaluate and make sure that it's sort of customized to what you need? Those are big questions that I would ask. And frankly, where I get wary is when an MSP just has slideware, right? Where they just tell stories. I mean, stories are great. I love them way better than statistics because stories, they get to us. They have a personal context that are relevant to us. So it's way better to, talk about a ransomware attack in a similar firm than it is to give you, statistics where you're, we all go, well, that's terrible. We drink our coffee and we get on with our day. Yeah. But I want to see it in my environment. You want to be able to kick the tires in your environment. And it's for a couple of reasons. One, it's going to test the interaction between you, the MDR player, and the MSP, and your MSP, I should say. But the other thing it does is make sure that it's like I said, that it's delivering what you need. Are they catching the things you need? When they do, and there's an investigation, are they logging and, creating the right level of forensics that you require, whether that's just an internal report to a stakeholder like, hey, we saw this thing happen and this is what happened, or here's why we had to disable these devices or these accounts, or is it something more serious where, you have to collect all that information for a regulator, as an example, whether that's an annual exam or you have to provide some kind of attestation, whatever it might be. And why I always say it's important to evaluate that is one of the big things that I see with regulatory investigations is a search for consistency, right? So when you saw a suspicious activity A of some nature, you took action X. When you saw suspicious activity of something similar to it, you took action Y. Well, why was that? In this one case, you rebooted a system. In this other case, you didn't. Or you disabled an account. In this other case, you didn't. It's not to say it's wrong, but you want to have the right answer, right? You want to be able to say, well, we didn't disable that device because of its criticality in our environment and it would cause a service disruption. So we elected to deal with the threat for a period of time. Here's how we provided air cover. In another case, to say, well, that's straightforward, right? That was an EV account, password reset. We forced the person to re-authenticate. What was the pain? 15 seconds in loss? It's worth it. But you have to be able to be consistent in that kind of thing.
Yeah. One thing I do want to highlight too is you mentioned sort of POV, POC. Right. Sure. You also want a clear understanding of what that POV or POC actually is going to do. And is it just software or is it also the 24/7 SOC as well? So, ideally, does that POV help you identify things within your network that you weren't privy of, right? That will help you eventually close the gaps that could lead to a bigger situation down the road, right? So those are some of the things that I've seen work in sort of the questions asking MDR providers. So we'll move on to our last question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, sorry, Mark. I was going to say you're bang on with that, right? Like, look, when anybody gets into your environment and they turn on the lights, we should expect to find things unwanted in the corners, right? Like in the shadows. That is normal. Again, that's not a criticism of your environment or the job that you're doing as a customer or as an MSP. It's always going to happen. And you're right. If they're not finding anything or you're running pen tests and they're not detecting it, stuff like that you want to see. And even that you might want to tune, right? You might want to say, yeah, I don't want to know about port scanning. Like, yeah, put that in a report. That's boring. But I do want to know about this stuff. So it just helps you sort of tune for your environment so that when if you do go live, right, then like you say, right, it's like flipping a switch. It's seamless and you're off to the races versus spending, now you're paying, you're into the program and you're going to spend the next 3 months actually trying to tune and focus the service because it wasn't exactly what you thought it was going to be.
Right. And I think the POV allows you to, especially the partner or the prospect, right, really understand what that onboarding process looks like. And that onboarding process and the engagement you get with the team is going to tell you a lot about sort of the post-sale experience as well.